Hey guys, Pat here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. We had my sons over and their girlfriends and, well, soon-to-be daughter-in-law was there, and I asked her if there's anything special I could do for her for the up-and-coming wedding. So what I got here behind me is I have a couple of pieces of cedar. I've had saved up for a long time, little short chunks. This is a 4-foot piece of cedar here, and I got 2 of these, and I'm cutting around knots and different things because I'm kind of engineering as I go, kind of designing as I go. And so what I've come up with to work around the knots is a 14-inch tall card box. So we need four sides. So I got a side here, and got a couple more sides cut out here. And this is a Western Ridge cedar that I'm making this out of. Because this is not a full slide or 12-inch miter saw, I cut down and make the first cut, then I flip the board over, and then I continue the cut on these lines. And as you can see behind me, I have a radial arm saw, and these are easy enough cuts to where I don't think I need to change the blade on that because I got a Dado head set up on that. But at any rate, if you just have a compound miter saw or a miter saw that doesn't have the extension, a 12-inch extension on it, enough to cut 12-inch boards. These are 10s, 1x10s, and so this is just another way of being able to work with what you got. So anyway, I got finished cutting out 4 of these 14-inch by 10-inch sides, or actually 9 1/4 by 14 inches. And I got to make 4 of these. So we'll go ahead and finish out those cuts. When I line this up, I just close one eye, look right down the side of the blade, each side of the blade, to where the only thing showing is the teeth. And then I lower it down and get right to the center of the kerf of my last cut. So I just lift up the guard and I take my eyesight and I go to the center of the blade to where I just see, you see the left hand side of the blade, the right hand side of the blade, and I go just to where all I can see is the teeth, and line the teeth up with the old existing kerf, or the kerf that I just made, or this cut that I just made. Look to either side of that, and it's right in the center. And I just go ahead and finish out my cut by flipping the board over. Now any real woodworker would just go ahead and change out the blade on his radial arm saw and go ahead and cut these, but you'll see it'll be fine. I got 4 sides cut out, 9 1/4 by 14 inches times 4 of them. Now what I want to do is I was going to make a little decorative bottom or little feet for this, so hopefully you ladies out there will think this is cute when it's done. I think that's the most important thing, is to make sure it's cute. So I'm just going up here just a width of the square here, inscribing a real light line. I make a line 2 inches in from the edge, on each edge, and I had the width of the square here, and then I go to the edge of the line and that's where my corner will be. This will make a little leg here. Alright, we'll take it to the other side. What I do is I go just to the 2-inch line here where I got marked, and I go to the top edge of the square line. Does that make sense? And just draw a radius on there with my round object. Now as you can see, when I cut this out, this will be the corner leg here. So I'll go ahead and do that with the rest of them. Okay, now all I have to do is just cut this out with the bandsaw. So basically what we have going on here, I made these jigs here so I knew what the elevation of this bit should be and the depth of the fence should be. And so I have a couple of templates or scrap pieces of wood that I put together to make that definition as to how I want it all to fit together. Because if you don't have it just right, you know, these can be sitting out here like this, the corners wouldn't come together as perfectly as they do here. So I got a couple of scraps here that I've put together in order to get my initial setup on my router table here. So the other thing I wanted to define, I've got two pieces of wood that need to be cut differently. So as you can see, with these two particular pieces of wood, if you set them side by side, they're cut differently. When he runs this through the bit, one of your pieces of work have to be sitting flat against the table, and the other one has to run in flat to the fence or vertical. So this one has to be cut horizontal, this one has to be cut vertical in order to make these come together. It looks like two totally different cuts, but when you go to marry them together, look what happens. So so I went through and I marked each one of these boards here so I wouldn't get it wrong. I marked it with a T and marked it with an F. So this part here will be going against the fence, and this part will be going against the table. So when I run this through here, I'll know, because I want to have my sawn edge out, because we're kind of looking for a little bit of a rustic look. So I'm just going to have the milled end on the outside of the project. So this side goes to the fence, this side goes to the table, and I run it through just like that. So when you're running a router table or a shaper table, again, you want to apply pressure down. So the very corner of this is what you're pressing into. You're pressing into the corner right here. So that's a downward pressure and an inward pressure. So a lot of times a board maybe have just a little bit of a cup to it, and so I make sure that corner, I take my thumbs and I kind of lift up, and I take my little finger, my pinky, and I cup it against the back side of the board. My thumb right here, my other thumb right here, and then lift up just a tiny bit on my thumbs and just run that through there, always being mindful of trying to keep that corner down and up against the fence. So we got that all these cut. Let's see if it goes together. Nice thing about this corner drawer locking bit is it actually extends your points of contact. It helps you to align your work. Everything, all the corners come together, and when you on your glue ups or when you're nailing this together, everything just kind of sits here solid. It doesn't really want to move after you put it together, and you have more points of contact in here. So if you use to measure from here to here and here to here, here to here, and all the way across, this surface area is actually made up of quite a bit. So it's better than just a butt joint, and it really helps to make this strong once you get done here. And again, it really makes it nice to line everything up when you go to start gluing things together. So now we're at the table saw, and the next thing we want to do is we want to cut out a dado joint in the bottom here. We don't want to set the table saw up any higher than 3/8 of an inch to reach halfway This is a 3/4 inch board, and we want to go halfway in with a 3/8 inch dado. I want to go 1.5 inches in for the bottom of the drawer to set, and also to accommodate the little leg. So I wanted a half inch of wood all the way across here, because I'm going to have a little archway in here for my legs for the box itself. I made multiple adjustments to my blade or between my blade and fence, and the height with the blade, in order to not nick this edge right here, because it made a little square nick in there if I would have went too high with my blade on the saw. So this right here, adjusting in and out, I was able to make a nice fitting dado. Now all I have to do is cut this to the right size in order to make my door bottom. Now I'm ready to go over to the bandsaw and cut out the box bottom to represent some legs that I'm going to cut out. Cut a few relief cuts in there because that's kind of a sharp corner here, radius. Now you'll notice that I have a couple of different lines here. Well, I made a mistake earlier and I didn't compensate for this edge, this outside edge right here. If you measured across here it's 2 inches, and you measure across here it's 2 inches. But when the box goes together, the one edge is going to be a little bit longer than the other. So between the edge of the outside of this box side and this box side, inside is 2 inches. So 2 inches from the outside to the inside. So as you can see, I had to take 3/8 of an inch off of this in order to make that work to 2 inches. Now we'll just smooth out the rough edges where the bandsaw had made its cut. Okay, we have it all glued up. Just in case people are wondering what these little blocks of wood here are, that is to displace the surface area on the clamp so the clamp itself doesn't dent the wood, as cedar is a soft wood, and if I clamp this down, the clamp itself will make a mark. But if I have a piece of wood in here, that displaces the surface area of the clamp, and so it won't dent the wood. So you can see some of these clamps have a little pad on there, so that helps quite a bit. So that's what the little blocks of wood are, just in case people are wondering. Okay, so we'll let that dry. This is the next day, and I've removed the clamps off of the top of the card box, and I've taken a long piece of sticky sandpaper It's got a sticky back on it. 100 grit sandpaper. And I've just cleaned off the top of the box here where it's nice and flat and even. So several strokes like this, and I just cleaned off the top of that box. Having this on a long board like this, a long straight board, will help displace the sandpaper evenly across that surface and incline you to be making it flat. So nice even strokes all the way across. I rotate the box and do it crisscross, and that makes that turn out real nice. What I've also done is I've cut another piece of wood here, and this is 9.5 by 10, and we're going to go back over to the router table and route in a 3/4 inch rabbet joint all the way around the edge of this, so this will fit inside here snugly. So I'll leave 3/8 of an inch exposed here to match the corners, and it'll also give it a little bit more rigidity. Anytime you can make two pieces of wood lock together instead of just butt up against each other, then you have a stronger joint and it'll last longer. So I've already loosened up this bit in the collet here. You can make 3/4 inch dados with this, or you can make various rabbet joints with this particular bit here. This adjustment will lower the router into the table, and so what I want is to come up 3/8 of an inch. That is half of what this is. Half of 3/4 is 3/8. And then I want to come in to where I'm cutting a 3/4 inch, cutting in 3/4 of an inch. Okay, to verify whether or not all my measurements are correct here, so what I'll do is I'll send a scrap piece of the same thickness through here and verify whether or not my measurements are correct. So my adjustments up is 3/8 and I'm in 3/4, and my collet is tight. I'm plugged in and ready to go. Okay, that shows that I need to go a little deeper by 1/16 of an inch, and I need to go up by 1/16 of an inch. Okay, that's up 3/8 and over 3/4. We'll go ahead and make our cuts and see how it fits. Now you'll notice how I always make my end cuts first, on the end grain first, because that way if there's any chipping on the edge that it departs from, like when I'm following through here, a lot of times a router will want to chip out the end of your board on an end cut, but like on an inline cut, in line with the grain, you're less likely to have tear out. So that's why you always want to cut your end grain first if at all possible. So I wanted to show you a little bit of an example of what tear out is, in case you don't know. That's what happened. I had to shave this down about 1/16 of an inch, and I always start with my end cuts, and this is where the router blade leaves the cut here, and it wants to take and tear the last little grain or two of wood out. So that's why you always want to router your ends first. Did the same thing on this side here. So I'll go ahead and I'll be right back after I route this edge and this edge. Okay, it's a fit. Okay, now I have the router table set up with a start point and an ending point on the measurement from the card box top. and I've cut a sample piece out of a piece of wood that I'm not going to use. That cut a 3/4 inch wide gap. I could do a 3/8 inch gap, but I don't have the proper bit for that. This will be just fine. So if anybody drops a letter in and it's just a little bit thicker than just your standard letter, then it'll slip right through here. So I want to come in here 2 inches from the edge, and I'm going to come in here 1.5 inches from the other 2 edges, and that way the letter opening will be 7 inches long. So for bigger cards, they should fit in there just fine. So now you can see a lot better what these lines are for. And here's my start line. And so you see I plunged into the wood, and then I just very carefully, I'm pushing back and I'm pushing down, very carefully backed up to the line, and then I ran it forward to this line here. Anyway, so by putting those 2 reference lines on there, and I measured from the center of the bit back, and then I used a square after I determined I wanted it 1.5 inches on each end. The distance between here and here and here and here, 1.5 inches. I came up to the 1.5 inch point and centered the bit right to the edge of where I wanted the hole to be, and then I put the edge of the hole right here where my line is, and then right here at the edge of the bit, and at a 90-degree angle. Then I can go over here at the very edge here. I can mark that line. That way I know where to stop on the fence. Okay, so let's go see how that looks on the card box. Okay, that should work out pretty good. Now I'm not sure if I want to glue this on here or just leave it like this, and then all they have to do is when they want to get the cards out, just take the top off like that. I'll ask Kayla if that's okay with her. If not, what a guy could do is he could glue this on top of here and then take it over the table saw and then cut out however far down he wants to go, put hinges on the back, and to make the whole thing tilt up and down just like a regular box would with hinges. So on the inside of the box we have a flat bottom, and you remember I put that flat bottom in there, glued it in. But now what I want to do is I want to put a little tray in here, and that little tray is going to have an angle to it. When the cards or letters or payments or whatever it is you're going to put in here, whenever you put the letter in, it's going to fall straight down. It's going to hit that little ramp, and it's going to lay the letter down. That's the theory I have anyway. So when you drop the letter in, it's going to hit that ramp, and it's going to kick it this way, and it's going to cause the letter to lay down at a 45-degree angle. And so all of the cards, letters, or payments, or whatever you have going in here should stack up like that and not get crisscrossed inside the box and cause trouble. Okay, I made this little plate or deflection ramp or whatever you want to call it. It just lays in the bottom at a slant. Now I'll put the lid on here, so when the letter falls on this end, I want the high point of that ramp to be on this side. And so here's a piece of cardboard representing a letter. Drop it in there. Let's see how it's laying on the bottom here. Oh, look at that. Well, hopefully all the cards will lay flat like that, and we'll have plenty of room in this box. Also poke a little hole in this to where you get your finger in here and pull this out when you need to. But a lot of times when you have something like this and you drop a letter in here and it might fall to that side and it might be propped up like that, well then the next letter, it might fall in there and fall to this side, and pretty soon you have them all all the letters kind of piled up in such a way that the box gets full prematurely. So that's what this is for, is to hopefully eliminate that, and then the cards will be all stacked up neatly when the kids go to open this up. Well, that pretty much does it for this build. I don't know if she wants a finish on this, if she wants this sanded. She's got kind of a rustic theme going on with the wedding, so I'll ask her for some details on this. You know, a guy can also put a little sign on here out of wood burn it, paint it, do whatever you want to do. Those are details that will happen a little bit later, but this particular video is just for the build. So thanks for stopping by. Hope this helps somebody out. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.